what I'd love to do is learn about you, kind of where you came from and how you found your way to sort of being a sustainable packaging consultant, because that's a very specific niche that you found. How do you find it?
Yeah, well, it's a long story. I'll make it short for you. It started back when I was 18 years old. I graduated from high school and didn't want to go to college right away. I wasn't ready for it. Didn't think I'd be successful yet. So I applied for a couple of jobs, and one of them was warehouser, and that's a corrugated box plant here in Gresham, Oregon. And thankfully, I got it. And so I started my career when I was 18, making boxes and paying my way through college. And that turned into, after graduating with a degree in advertising, and no one was hiring at all in that space at that time of history. I went to a career fair and I found that there was a packaging company there that was hiring, and they were hiring for sales. So I applied for the job and got it. And I have a dad who was a salesman and a grandpa that was a salesman, and a long history of that in my family. And although I saw how difficult it was and didn't want to be in sales, I said, well, I'll do this for a little while. And 20 years later, I'm still doing it and really enjoy it.
When you were working at the box company,
Mhm.
are you like thinking about like how things could be better? Like when I'm in any job, I'm always like in my head, I'm reverse engineering everything everyone is doing.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. When you work in a factory like I have and many of us have, it gives you a lot of time to think. With a very repetitive job like that, it was lots of time to consider, new ideas and new concepts, and think about future plans and how, oh, this could be, what if I did this forever? What would that be like? And what if we could change this, or what if we could try something else with this kind of packaging? So it was neat because I got to work on all the different kinds of machines that make boxes, including the machine that makes corrugated, which is where I got my nickname, Corrugated. uh, so we actually turned paper into corrugated there at that mill. So that was really fun to get to see all those different kinds of equipment, and to see how difficult it is to make boxes and how much work it is. So we need to use them a couple times if we can.
all the all the objects that you're showing on like TikTok, like the butterfly cup and the you had a substance, was it Scotch cushion that replaced, it's supposed to replace bubble wrap.
Yeah, cushion
What
lock. Yeah.
are you constructing these items?
No, that's made by 3M Scotch brand. But oftentimes companies will send me products to try out. In that case, they're one of my sponsors for the podcast. So I've been promoting their product, but it's a great concept, and it's been one of the best fits for me in my realm of what I'm doing, because I'm promoting sustainable packaging. And so many people use plastic bubble because it's easy, right? It's the go-to. It's going to work if you layer it thick enough. It will solve your problem. It will not. It will make it so your product doesn't break, we hope. But the cool thing about Cushion Lock is it does the same thing, but it's made from 100% recycled paper. So that's an awesome advantage, and it's totally recyclable or reusable again.
Yeah, that's really cool. Well, how did so what one of the things I'm always interested in is how entrepreneurs and just pretty much anybody in general really find their way to these video platforms. When did you decide that you wanted to try your hand at just using video to reach out to the world?
Yeah, that was a few years ago. So I didn't do social media until I was 40 years old, which is 4 years ago. I didn't like it. I felt like it was I had the wrong attitude about it. I didn't see how it could be a positive thing. I just felt like it was people showing off, and that's not something I like to do. But what I see now is there's lots and lots of people out there doing very positive things on social media, like yourself and what I'm trying to do as well. So I was watching Gary Vaynerchuk videos on YouTube and thought, wow, I could do that. Yeah, that sounds cool. I want to try that. So I started making TikToks, and I had a goal of 10,000 followers, and that I think we just passed. We're almost at 80,000 followers now, which is incredible. And all I talk about sustainable packaging, and people are very interested. Even young people, I would say, especially young people, and I mean people less than 18, are very interested in what we're doing because they care about the environment and they care about the future of their planet. So it's been really fun watching that take off and transitioning from TikTok. That led to the LinkedIn Creator Accelerator program, where they chose 100 people in the United States, and they taught us how to make LinkedIn posts that were engaging, and they showed us how to be more influential and really use LinkedIn to its potential. So that was really fun to do that for 6 weeks, and then that turned into a podcast, which turned into a sponsorship by Waste Expo, who I'm working with them on some of their stuff, and I'll be at Waste Expo in New Orleans in May. So if you want to meet there, talk about what we can do to recycle more and how we can improve the planet, we're here to do that.
So you're at like 80,000 on TikTok. Did you ever think that these many people would be interested in sustainable packaging?
No. I thought, I honestly, like, I had an aggressive goal of 10,000 when I started, and I'm just a guy from Oak Grove, Oregon. I didn't think anybody would really care. I thought they would be interested, and I could, I've been doing sales long enough that I felt like I could make some interesting, details about packaging, because I've learned this all the hard way by doing it, and by trying it with customers and failing, and that learning method is the best for me and for most, I think. But it's taken off way beyond expectation and turned into massive opportunities. We're going to Paris in January to speak at their Paris Packaging Week about sustainable packaging, and we'll be doing live podcasts from Paris. I was part of the Sustainable Packaging Coalition event in Atlanta, and got to interview big companies like Coca-Cola and Kraft Heinz about what they're doing to be more sustainable. And that was a real honor to be a part of that. And Pack Expo was an incredible experience just a few weeks ago. So I'm traveling all over the country and all over the world.
I have a question about, actually, I have a lot of questions.
We're here for it.
Just a brief thing about the LinkedIn program. What kind of things were they teaching you to make your posts more influential, to make your presence there more influential?
Yeah, great question. It's LinkedIn is an awesome platform for growing your network and connecting with companies. If you have an interest in being an influencer at all in any space, I highly recommend LinkedIn. It is becoming more and more popular with YouTubers and TikTokers. They're flocking to LinkedIn because you go to TikTok and YouTube to have a huge network, but you go to LinkedIn to actually make the connection with the company that you want to work with. So because they need to see that you're a real person and that you're legitimate and professional, and that you can present yourself in a way that would make their company look good. But some amazing people doing amazing things. They recommended posting. They recommended engaging. Try different kinds of posts. So I always say post one picture a week, post one video a week, post a poll, and then spend a lot of time engaging with other people's posts, commenting and liking and sharing. These are really important things to do. But if somebody, and I like Gary Vaynerchuk always says, if somebody takes the time to comment on your post, the least you can do is reply to that comment. Or I guess even lesser would be just like it. Like the fact that they engaged with you. They took their time to say, hey, I see what you're doing and it's cool. Or I don't like what you're doing and here's why. And that's okay too, right? But we need to engage with all of those.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And that's one of the things that I see a lot, especially in certain art industries, is their PR people will tell them only engage with people you're partnered with in this way, and then with fans, just engage in this lesser way. And I actually don't agree with that. I like what you're saying here is just find a way to engage with them. Even the people who are saying, hey, I didn't like what you're doing.
And I actually had this is a funny thing that happened one time. I had a guy just totally lambaste me in a post, and this is probably a year ago. And the next day I responded and I said, oh man, thanks for your feedback. Here's why I don't agree with what you're saying. And he responded, sorry, man, I was drunk last night when I posted that. So, oh, okay. Well, thank you. And so we were friends ever since. It's possible.
I feel like those late night, anything posted after like 12 a.m. in that person's time should be questioned whether it was real or not.
Yeah. You always have to take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah. So you talked about some of these companies you're advising, or even just having conversations with about what they're doing. Are you surprised by by certain companies' levels of dedication to sustainable packaging, or like, are there companies where like, oh, I always felt like they could do better, but they're not interested? Like, what are your thoughts on some of these bigger companies? We won't name drop them specifically.
Yeah, no, I think the answer is yes. I'm absolutely surprised, both in very positive ways and both in very negative ways. Some people aren't doing much of anything to be more sustainable. They think, oh, it'll be fine. We'll get through this, and this is another fad that will pass. But some people are totally changing everything in every single way, and possibly even taking it too far, because at a certain point you can do too much. It is possible to overdo it and to not look at everything in the right way, because sometimes what you're doing is the most sustainable option. And I think the knee-jerk reaction is, okay, we have to change everything. Stop what we're doing. Let's switch all of our packaging to this, and that can be very detrimental if you don't test it. So what I'm seeing is a lot of testing, a lot of trial and error, and that's good news.
Let's say you have a client who's manufacturing something that absolutely needs to be overpacked, like guitars, for example. I can't order a guitar without coming with multitudes of bubble wrap. And they ask you, aside from using recycled materials or whatever, what else goes into constructing sustainable packaging? What would you talk to them about?
Yeah, guitar is a great example, because it does need a lot of cushioning. There's a product called FlexiHex, which I would recommend to somebody shipping guitars or surfboards or tennis rackets. And it's an amazing product, manufactured by a couple of guys in England who were surfers. And they were tired of getting surfboards that were covered in plastic bubble wrap, just layers and layers, like you said. And they said, there has to be a better way. So they invented this product, and it was one of my first viral videos, actually. I dropped a bottle of wine from 10 feet in the air using their product, and it survived. And people thought, oh, that's crazy. It was, that's way above what over asking. No one would expect it to work that well. And it really did. And the reason I did it was I wanted to show people that you don't need styrofoam. You don't need plastic bubble. There are sustainable packaging materials that are robust and really impressive, like FlexiHex or Cushion Lock, or, there are many, many products available that will replace these single-use plastics and be curbside recyclable, which is really cool, or reusable.
What do you think it would take to normalize the use of these new materials? Like, for example, that what you were just talking about, but also the butterfly lid on the disposable coffee cup.
Yeah, I think it's happening. It's happening. It's going to be slow, and it's going to take. We've been using bubble wrap or plastic bubble for years and years and years, and we need some time to transition to new alternatives. And I think there's going to be things like extended producer responsibility, where municipalities say, hey, if you use this, you have to figure out a way to make sure your end user can recycle it easily. And that's not easy with plastic bubble. You have to take it to a store to drop it off. And frankly, not very many people do that. So what's going to happen is either it's going to be curbside recyclable where you live, or it's going to be used less often, is my prediction, because the way things are changing with extended producer responsibility and these different laws, companies are going to be financially responsible for the packaging that they use and making sure that it is sustainable.
What are your thoughts on some of the recent? I've been seeing a lot of content in the news, but also on social media about how, like bottle recycling isn't as effective as you think it is, and yada yada yada.
Yeah.
Are you seeing that content too?
Yeah. So there's only 10 states in the U.S. that have a bottle deposit system, and those states have double the recycling rates of the other states that don't have those. So my thought and my hope is that other states will get on board with this system and assign value to the items that aren't getting recycled as often as they should. Though the other side of that coin will be there will be a lot of reusable packaging. Like, for example, the glass Coke bottles in Mexico that are famous for being so delicious because they use real sugar down there. The Coca-Cola company is using that system, and they're expanding it into Texas, and then that'll go to, it will just grow throughout the states and become more and more prevalent to where, Joe Consumer will be able to take a case of glass bottles back to the grocery store and get money for them, or get their deposit back.
Is Oregon one of the states?
Yeah, we were the first, and back in 1971, I think. But our bottle drop system and our bottle deposit system is so popular that and it's so innovative that people come from all over the world to see how we do it. And it's an exciting place to live. And so when I traveled when I was young, and I would go to California and other states that don't have these kind of, or didn't have these kind of systems, I'd say, you threw that can away. Why would you do that? That's crazy as a young person. So I think if we can teach people when they're young and show people when they're older, like myself, that, hey, this can be recycled. Here's how you do it. And here's the system that works for us.
Yeah, in New York, that's the only piece of litter you will never see are bottles and cans. Because even if somebody tosses it, there's always somebody behind them who just kind of grabs it and takes it.
And imagine if all packaging had value. Imagine if everything that you put in your waste stream had a value assigned to it. There wouldn't be litter anymore. It's put the possibility is there. it's real.
That is such a good idea. Like if pizza boxes had
Yeah,
like a 5 cent deposit on that,
right.
pizza
Yeah.
places would get even more orders than they get now.
The number of pizza boxes made in the United States is staggering. I don't remember it off the top of my head, but it's billions with a B.
I believe it.
It's absolutely massive. And there's been pushback saying, "Oh, these aren't recyclable." Well, Westrock paper did a study, and they've proven that the boxes don't degrade the recycle stream. So they are recyclable. We encourage you to recycle your pizza boxes, and please, because we need the material to make new corrugated boxes.
Yeah. What do you think of there's some really strange things that they've been experimenting with. And I know you just did a podcast recently on like, was it using mushrooms?
Yeah, mycelium mushroom is a replacement for styrofoam, which is really cool. It's totally natural, backyard compostable. Literally throw it in the dirt in your backyard and it will degrade. And I think the numbers I heard were 6 to 8 weeks, which is amazing, under the right conditions. But it's made from mushroom and hemp husks, which is really, really cool.
Yeah. Hemp is supposed to be like one of the best plants to make really anything out of, I heard. Yeah.
Yeah, hemp is you'll see a lot more hemp paper. You'll see a lot more hemp-based packaging in the future. I think the problem with hemp is the fibers are shorter than tree fibers than wood pulp. So it's about a fourth the length of a tree fiber, and so you have to make the material quite a bit thicker, which when you do a life cycle analysis, if you have to use 4 times the thickness, it's not as sustainable as we hoped. But it is definitely sustainable, used in the right ways. So you'll see more of that. And there's a company called, what was it called? Rehusk. They were on the podcast and they were using hemp stalks, or restock is what it was called, restock. And like stalk, STALK, like from a tree or a shrub. They took the actual shrubs, the stalk from the hemp plant, and they're turning that into packaging materials, which is really cool because that used to be a waste item that was it was so grainy and strong that it wasn't good for composting. It would take years and years and years to compost. So they figured out a way to turn that into packaging paper.
Interesting. Yeah, that's really interesting. Do you advise your clients, like let's say you got a client who wants to manufacture a new kind of way of doing something. Do you advise them on sort of what a manufacturing process might look like?
Oh, that's way out of my scope of
That's
knowledge.
not your scope.
Yeah, that's I'm more on the consulting of, hey, here's an item here's a packaging material that could safely package your item. So no, but I would connect them with somebody who's doing something similar. So I like to connect people that are trying to do positive things and sustainable things. I like to introduce them to people that are also trying the same kind of thing. So
Yeah.
that always makes me happy.
Yeah, that makes sense. That would be another specialty. Because one of my interests is always in what is the sort of line from concept to just how something is made. Like how does a can get recycled and turned into something else that's now usable or whatever? And
it's an incredible process, and lots of YouTube videos about aluminum recycling. It's one of the most, I think it might be the most recycled material, aluminum, because it has value. And MRFs really like it. The material recycling facilities like it because they can pull it out easily. they can bundle it in a way that's very easy to ship and very dense, very valuable. So it all comes down to is the material, does it have an end use? Does it have a value stream? When you look at plastic, maybe not everything that is plastic is valuable because it doesn't have a stream that's easy to access for the MRFs. But when you look at aluminum cans, totally recyclable, one of their favorite materials.
What do you think is the most vital um, uh, substance that we need to be reusing, but we're not?
Yeah, I think I'd like to see more plastic be recycled because pulling that material out of uh, petroleum-based products is hard on the planet. So if we could recycle them and or reuse or upcycle or downcycle them, like I think of things like Trex decking. Uh, that is an amazing system where they take plastic bags from a grocery store, the cheap plastic bags, the low density polyethylene that you get in the grocery store. You bring back to the grocery store and you drop it in the box. That's called store drop off. And they take that and they turn it into a product that's going to last for 30 years and is way more sustainable than other alternatives because it's made from recycled plastic and recycled wood. That's really a neat product.
Yeah, they made those bags illegal where I am.
Yeah.
Which was a really good thing. But I remember meeting a guy at one point when those were more in abundance over here, where he would melt them down and make guitar picks.
Yeah, that's a cool product too. I think the Fat Mike from NoFX used to do that. I think, yeah. He's a bass player, but yeah.
Yeah, it's such a cool idea. Um, Yeah, now I'll go grocery shopping and I'll like come out of the grocery store with all my groceries like this because I'll always forget my bags.
That's
I'm
the common
programmed.
issue, right? Is the reusable bag, and then you end up with a closet full of reusable bags that aren't recyclable. So it's a real debate. Is single-use plastic really bad when it comes to grocery bags? There's a spirited debate on both sides. If you can bring your reusable bags and you can get a couple hundred uses out of them, yeah, they are more sustainable. But single-use bags, if they can be recycled into new things like new bags or new, decking material or whatever the case may be, that's very sustainable too. But we just don't want them ending up in the environment in any way.
Yeah, I suppose it's a question of like, what's easier to do? Change the culture so that doing our reusable bags and we're remembering to bring them, which I'm
Yeah,
never remembering to bring them, or is it
right.
easier to just recycle? And I think it might just be easier to recycle them into something longer lasting.
I think so, but that's my opinion on that. I think plastic is very recyclable. It's just not easy to do that for most consumers. So I think the grocery store will have a larger part to play in that kind of a situation moving forward. Um, so think about big brands that you know will sponsor these bags, and they'll put their name on them, so they're advertising, but then they'll also pay to have those recycled at the grocery store where you got them. So that kind of extended producer responsibility is possible and likely. It's happening in I think there's 15 or 19 states that are going through an EPR law right now. uh, Oregon has a massive one coming. It's going to totally revolutionize the way we recycle.
I'll
And
definitely have to keep up on that.
yeah,
That's interesting.
I don't
Yeah.
know what New York is doing. I know they incinerate a lot of their waste.
Yeah,
which is
they ship it to Jersey, and then they forget about it.
right, right.
But I remember there was like an incident some years back where there was a giant barge of just years worth of trash that
Yeah,
the states kept like shipping back and forth to one another because nobody wanted to take it.
right. Yeah, landfills are filling up, and it's becoming more important that we address these issues.
Have you ever seen the Great Kills landfill here? So I'm
No,
in the North Shore of Staten Island, and Staten Island for a long time was the part of New York City where everybody just dumped their trash. So all the trash from the 20th century is buried underneath a landfill at the bottom of Staten Island. And you
wow,
go there now, they've covered it with dirt, and now that just looks like these grassy hills, but you can't go on them. And it's
yeah.
just like this huge waste of land.
I've heard that they're trying to make that into a park, and I think that would be really cool if that could happen someday. But yeah, it's the system for so many years was, oh, just dump it over there. Yeah, we'll deal with it later.
Yeah, I think about that, like how like every image you've ever seen of New York, whether it's in a film or a postcard or a photograph, all the waste that was created in the era that that image was created is now in Staten Island under the ground. That's so weird.
It's a daunting thing to think about. I remember being there, visiting a few times, and thinking, wow, there's a lot of garbage that they have to deal with. There's so many people. I get it. It's not an easy task to deal with that. But they're even talking about mining those materials from old landfills someday. So it's possible that we will, because frankly, when you stick it underground, it doesn't always degrade the way we think it does. They've actually pulled out newspapers from old landfills, and you can still read them, and they're from the 30s. So people think that it goes to the landfill, and it degrades, and everything melts into dirt. It's not always the case. If there's no oxygen available, it's not going to degrade. If there's no moisture, it's not going to break down. So there's a lot of issues there. But there's also some potential positive things where we could pull some of that material out of the ground and turn it into new things. So,
What would you like to leave the listeners with? Where can they find you if they want to retain you to consult with them? Because
oh yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's really
Check me
important.
out. LinkedIn. I think Cory Connors on LinkedIn. CoryConnors. I don't think there's very many of people with my name, so pretty easy to find me there. Check out my podcast, Sustainable Packaging Podcast with Cory Connors. It's on uh, iTunes, Google, Spotify, all the major ones.
I'll definitely
And
put a link.
thank you so much. But yeah, look forward to hearing from people. I hear from a lot of students, which makes me feel really good. I enjoy talking to students from uh, MSU, and there's so many big schools doing really, really good things in the world of packaging. I just interviewed a student, Brandon Coleman from MSU. That podcast episode will come out soon. He's talking about how these students have so many opportunities in the world because they've studied packaging, and it's an environment where there's massive potential, because you can go into design, you can go into sales, you can go into project management. There's so many different things to be done in the world of packaging. It's a $1 trillion industry almost, which is people don't realize how much work and effort goes into every little thing that you receive, that you buy in the grocery store, has a team of designers.
Yeah, I once applied to a company that designs boxes. It was on the
Yeah,
graphic design side, and their
awesome.
facility was just huge and complex, and all these micro departments I wouldn't have thought of. And I'm definitely looking forward to that episode with Brandon. I'll add the link after it comes out. But I'm
Thank you.
definitely thinking about putting this one up on Monday.
Okay.
because I think it's an important subject that I'd like to get out as soon as possible. And I'll make sure to put all your links in the description, as well as TikTok, because I think that's your biggest asset, actually.
Yeah. TikTok at Corrugated. Check me out there. Corygated. That and also YouTube. That's growing fast. A lot of those shorts are. I just posted a short. It's almost 10,000 views. Whoa! I only have like 300, subscribers on YouTube.
You'll
But
blow up, though,
yeah,
especially if you
I
keep doing shorts.
I hope so. It's a lot of fun to get a lot of people involved with it because, like you said, people care about it.
Yeah, well, I noticed too, like YouTube really wants people doing more shorts, and I can see your shorts really taking off. And after I started doing shorts, they started breaking some of their rules with me. Like, you need to meet certain like account growth sort of mark points in order to get certain things. So if you want to post on the timeline to your subscriber
Oh wow,
base, you need like 500 subscribers.
I
But I
didn't
don't.
know that.
I got that before I reached 500, just because I started doing more shorts, because they
Nice.
really wanted shorts. I think they think they're competing with TikTok now. So
Every all those apps are trying to be the other one, and it's silly to see like TikTok now and stuff like that trying to compete with Be Real, and I don't think that's going to be successful for them. They should just keep doing what they're doing. It's working, and it's going very well for them. So keep it up, and really support your creators.
that's
I
great.
think.
Yeah, that's exactly the message that I wanted to hear. All right, thanks.
Well, thanks, Eric. Good
Bye.
to meet you. See ya.
Likewise.